Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel, the Xanadu Chronicles. My name is Frank and today I am continuing on my month-long quest to switch out the decor in my home for the fall and winter season. Now if you've been watching past videos, you'll know that I've been working through my rooms. I've done my bedroom, my master bathroom, and my dining room. So now today I'm going to be doing my living room. And I have several surfaces in here that hopefully will give you an idea as to how I like to style out my vignettes and maybe give you some tips that you can use to help style out yours. Next week's video I'll be finishing up with my library, and I have an area between my living room and my dining room that I have a beautiful bar cabinet that I also have a vignette on top of that I will be doing it as well. So next week's video will be the last one for my fall switch out, and then maybe I'll do a whole walkthrough of the house so you can kind of see how everything looks in its entirety. But I encourage you to go ahead and watch some of those prior videos and get some tips from those, as well as the ones that are coming up. So, like I said, we are in my living room, and in my living room, I've got actually 2 coffee tables because of the size of it. And like I said, once you see the space, you'll get an idea as to why we did that. And maybe I'll tell you why too, but it just works great for us in here, and it provides me 2 spaces to decorate. So we're going to work on those today, and then I have a smaller side table that just has a very simple vignette that I'll be setting up for you. Okay, so let's get started. Okay folks, so the first vignette is going to be for this small side table that sits between the 2 armchairs that are in front of my huge break front. So you'll see that I have 2 levels here. The first level I'm going to leave alone. I'm not going to put anything on there because that's the surface people are going to use. I'm just going to create a simple display at the bottom. So give me 1 second, because I had to, I can't have everything here on the floor for me to style in here. So I have put them off to the side, so I'll be coming in and out, and you'll see what I'm bringing in to work in this space. Be right back. All right, oops. You may have gotten a sneak peek of what I brought in, of course. So let me explain to you why I chose what I chose. Now, as I said, I've done a few other videos of other rooms in my home, and although there is a theme, a fall theme, I try to weave in threads of similarity throughout the spaces so that they are cohesive in that sense, meaning, I have a lot of whites going in here. I have a lot of chinoiserie inspired items going in all my vignettes. I've got a lot of I also have a lot of deeper tones of the colors that I use normally in the spring and summer. So I have a lot of pinks and greens and all those beautiful shades that you find here in the tropics, because if you've been watching our videos, you know we're in Florida. So I take a lot of inspiration from the environment outside. So now that it's fall and winter, it just doesn't make sense for us here in Florida, at least in my mind, to use pumpkins or maple leaves of those rich hues that you find maybe in New England or in the north, because we just don't have that down here, and it just doesn't fit to me. I like the aesthetic of my design to work with the environment that I'm living in. So even though I can't do those things, it doesn't mean I can't get a fall feel from the decor that I choose. So again, like I said, I'm trying to choose things that are reminiscent of this time of year down in Florida, make you think of this time of year down in Florida, and again, are deeper tones of those brighter colors that I use in the spring and summer. So, white, universal. You can use it all year long. It looks fresh and bright and clean for the spring and summer, and it makes you, it gives you a little bit of that cooler feel in the fall and winter, right? Just by the color alone. So this is a beautiful milk glass platter, and when I set up my vignettes, I like there to be contrast, because the light brings out the details in the dark objects, and the dark objects bring out the details in the light objects. So they work in tandem with one another to help you see things better. So this is a dark surface, and it's going on a bottom shelf, so it's not getting a lot of overhead light, right? So by putting this down here, I help to brighten up this bottom layer already. So now, when a person walks into the room and they look this way, the brightness will catch your eye and force you to look at what's there. So, putting that down first. And I like to layer materials, layer items so that there's more to look at. I could simply put this ginger jar, which you will see in a moment, directly on the surface and it would be pretty enough. But by layering this silver plated little plate, just a random little plate on top of the milk glass, I'm now creating a little bit more interest, more layers, and just something to, again, appeal to the eye and kind of draw someone over to take a look at closer. And then finally, this blue double happiness ginger jar, which if you watched my last week's video, you'll know that I got in a recent haul, and I encourage you to watch that video because I've got some great estate sale tips in that. So we picked up this beauty there for steel. Now, what I do, or decided to do, was that I'm going to put it on this platter because it fits just oh so nicely. And it's just a nice little outline. See, I mean, without it, it'd been great, but this little silver outline just adds a little bit more. And again, this is light and bright. The milk platter is light and bright. I put something dark in between so that now that there's contrast and you can see both items better. It doesn't like meld into one. So I will put that puppy down here. Excuse my back as I adjust. And there we are. Just a nice little, little something for people to enjoy. And when you look at my room, again, you will see there are blue and white pieces peppered throughout the space. I'm not a huge collector of blue and white, but as of late, I've been kind of getting into it. So I've been, like I said, peppering my space with these pieces so that your eye jumps from piece to piece, and in between, you pick up all the beautiful objects that are in between those two pieces, right? You start to notice more details, more items in the room, and it just makes for a lovelier experience. So now we're going to get started working on the two coffee tables because those are the largest surfaces that I have decorated in this space, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So let's get started. Alrighty folks, so we're here at my first coffee table, and this is the lower coffee table. I have another coffee table that is higher, and we did that on purpose because first of all, the levels look great in the space. Plus, it allows for a break in the plane. If they were both the same height, they would feel a little just flat. So you'll also notice that this coffee table has, they're both glass by the way, glass tops, but you'll notice that this has a very curvilinear, very shapely boundary or border of brass, and it's got the barley twist wooden base, whereas the other coffee table is rectangular, very angular, and it's got a black iron base. So the contrast there is what makes it interesting in this space. And again, like I said, when you see a pan of the space, you'll understand why we did two. One would have just been kind of weird. One big one would have been kind of mammoth, almost too heavy for the space, but two, for some reason, works beautifully. So that's what we did, and again, it's interesting, and so why not? So let's get started on this one. Okay, as you can see, it's a mammoth ginger jar, which, like I said, the blue and white is going to be relating to other pieces that I have in the room as well as in my house, so that people will see a little bit of it in every room and make the correlation that, oh, there's a theme, there's a thread. So this is going to go center. Okay, now let's start building up the books around it, because again, this is going to be a library feeling that I'm going to try to create for you, and you need a lot of books for that, so let me get started. So, my first set of books, like as I've said in all of my haul videos, I always encourage people to try to find great coffee table books to put on their tables, oversized books, because they work beautifully in what I'm going to do here, as well as they work fantastically as plinths or bases for other things to give them a little bit more height and stature and a little bit more prominence. So let me get this back in the center again. All right, and we'll get the other books I'm going to put around. Now, because this coffee table is lower than the other coffee table, I have a little bit more play in terms of height because the TV is right to my left and the main couch is to the right. That I would say a majority of the people, if they're going to be sitting watching a movie or whatever, would be sitting on the couch. But I've got seating all around the room, And what I'm going to do on these 2 tables is not going to impede the viewing primarily from the couch, because that's what, you know, these 2 coffee tables sit in front of, okay? So even at this height, it doesn't impede a great view of the TV, okay? So I'm going to continue. Now, you might not see my face, but another thing I want to point out is that take note that the books that I'm putting on here, the stacks of books, are not going to be the same height. You don't want that, because you want the movement to happen. So if you have different heights, it allows the eyes to jump up and down and move up and down along the surface, especially since I'm doing something that's very simple in terms of the design. It's nice to have those cues that force a person's eye up and down and around the space. So let me continue. All right. And I'm basically creating, you know, a nice square around my centerpiece here. And I'm kind of lining up the corners so it looks beautiful when you're looking at it from any angle, from the top, from the sides, from the front. Doesn't matter where you look, it's going to all look great. And along with the idea of not having the same heights in terms of the stacks, don't put the same size books on, you know, don't do every stack a stack of the same size books. Go and vary the sizes so that, again, you create interesting bases for people to look at. All right. So that was simple enough. So there you have the 4 stacks of books around my centerpiece. And now, to finish it all off, now this is pretty enough as it is, but I don't stop there. I'm a maximalist through and through. So each of these stacks is going to get a nice centerpiece of their own to kind of showcase. All right, so I'm going to grab them and I'll be right back. Okay, so for the first 2, like I said, white is a strong theme. This is a crystal candle holder that I have actually battery operated tea lights in so that I can turn them on safely whenever I'd like. So that's going on here. I've got a bowl of just random costume jewelry, and the bowl itself actually is very interesting in the sense it's got these like flanges or wings off the side here that are actually covered or silver plated. So it adds some interest, it adds some movement, and it just makes a person want to come up and take a look at it. Alrighty, now to finish off with the last 2 pieces, and then we'll be done with this coffee table. Alright, so I'm back, and for those of you who may have watched my haul last week, I went to a couple of estate sales and found some beauties, and this is one of them. It's a ceramic dish, covered dish, with a lovely basket weave pattern on it. Hopefully you can see that really well. Made in Italy. It's got some beautiful detail on it, very fine detailing with the flowers and the leaves, all of which are in pristine condition and no chips, no cracks, nothing like that. Hey folks, I'm sorry about that, but my camera was oh so rude and cut me off. So as you can see, I have taken that opportunity to readjust the camera so that you can have a better look at these last 2 stacks and what I'm going to put on them. So let's continue so that we can keep going. All right, as I was saying prior to my cutoff, I love these bases that you can find everywhere. And again, I use them to help elevate things both physically and metaphorically in terms of the prominence of an item, because when you put something on something like this, it brings more focus to it. So I purposely chose to put this on this light covered top or light covered book because of the contrast, because the lightness of the book allows the details or brings focus to the carvings of the base here, and that in turn, the darkness of that base brings prominence and focus to the interesting details of this ceramic container that I put on top of it. Now, yes, this would have looked great just like that on there, but you notice how the ceramic piece kind of melds into and disappears into the cover of the book, which is fine, you know, if you like that. But for me, I just like that one little extra bit of contrast. So that's how I typically attack that problem. And then finally, as you can see, I've got a very colorful book on the top of this stack. And I did that on purpose because what I'm putting on top of it is pretty clear. It's a Art Deco inspired crystal bowl from Tiffany's. Very simple, very architectural. Putting that on the top there so you can see through it, even the matchbox that are in there. The colors correlate to the colors in the or on the cover of that book. And then finally, I have a magnifying glass with a coral-inspired silver-plated handle. Very useful if you want to look at more details in the book or anything else that you want to look at. But place that on there, and we've got ourselves a final coffee table vignette, all beautifully done. And again, this is a more symmetrically styled setup versus what I'm going to be doing on my other coffee table, which will be more asymmetrically styled. But I've got a variety of color, pattern, texture, heights, just things to catch your eye to make it move around the vignette and take note of all the interesting details. So I hope you like that, and I hope you like the next one even more. So let's get started on that one. Okay folks, this one's going to be a little bit trickier to film because of the size of my coffee table and how far away I need to be from you so you can see everything. But we're going to make it work anyways. If you see my face, great. If you don't, no biggie. I'll come back to it at the end and you'll see me at the very end. But, so this is my larger coffee table. And it is also taller, as I said earlier. And as you can see, glass top as well. And very, very angular as compared to the other one. So, on this coffee table, I'm going to do something that's a little bit more asymmetrically designed. So the other coffee table, you know, we had the symmetrical stackings of books, even though they weren't all the same height, etc. But it still gave a very symmetrical feel because everything was built around a central interest point. But this, I'm going to create basically 3 little dioramas here on the table, 3 little setups that will all together equal one composition. Okay, so let me get started with the bases for each of the sections. Right back. Okay, so for section 1, books are going to serve as my base. I got 2 oversized books to serve as what will be a pedestal for what's going to go on top, okay? Now, I actually like using trays a lot because trays help to, especially for a bigger coffee table like this, help to designate sections that you can design within. So it's like coloring within the lines of a picture in a coloring book. It's a little easier, but even if you don't have trays to do that, think of the items that you place on your table in that way. So I'm imagining this as one tray, as a boundary on which I can create something inside and put things outside of it as well, okay? Section 1. Lo and behold, section 2 is a tray. Now, again, I don't want everything to line up exactly perfectly down the center. I want to stagger things. I want to break things up. And then I will fill in spaces with other things. But these are the 3 main components. And this, I'm lining up with my ginger jar because when you're sitting on the couch, you are looking directly ahead of you. And since that coffee table is placed in front of it, I want whatever is going to be central on this table to line up there so it doesn't look like, you know, just doesn't look wonky, all right? So lining that up, section 3. Now, you can't tell, but this is it's a marble cheese board, basically is what it is, with a cheetah, a brass cheetah at the end. So it's a fancy cheese board, and it's a lovely, amazing piece. It's heavy as heck, and I wouldn't put it on this table if you know I wasn't sure that the glass could support it, but it will. So I'm gonna put this on. I have little pads at the bottom so it doesn't scratch the glass and it moves along it quite easily. All right. So in section 3, I'm pushing it up further this way. Okay. Now I'm actually, you know what? No, I'm going to move it this way because I forgot I have a piece that's going up there. So I'm going to move it down this way a little further than this so that they don't exactly line up. Okay. Now again, you know, I try to mix my materials, stone and metal and glass and ceramic and paper. I try to mix it all up because that's where interest lies. You know, if they're all the same kind of material, it gets a little flat. And like I said, this is fall, so you know, typically, like I said, I have pinks and yellows and bright tropical colors on my table for the spring and summer. But right now, I'm going with the deeper tones of that. So this is still the pink family, but it's just a deeper plummy pink, okay? And something you would definitely see in the flora around here. So it's not out of the scope, and it works. So now the secondary levels. For section number 1, I have here a bowl with a bamboo. It's a crystal cut glass, or cut glass lead crystal bowl. I'm going to hold it there so you can see, with a bamboo, bamboo styling in the silver plate for the handles and the edge of it. And I filled it with old photos because that's something I like to do on coffee tables, is to put a bowl of old photos so that people can rummage through them. What else are you going to do with them? Put them in a box and in a cabinet somewhere? Stick them out there for people to take a look at and have a giggle at. And that way your photos are getting used and they're just not rotting away. And then switch them out. You know, pull out photos of trips and you know, make it thematic for yourself if you want. So I'm going to put that on there. Second layer for the second section. Okay. As you can see, this is a multi-leveled section. Section 2 is the more grandiose display item for this middle piece, because this is my central piece, okay? That lines up with the ginger jar, even though, like I said, it's a little bit more of an asymmetric design in the sense that you don't have the same things going on both sides, but I still have a central focal point here. And again, the whole idea, contrast, light and dark, light and dark. I've got a lovely jadeite random plate with a floral design around the edge, which you just cannot pick up on the camera, but just trust me, it's there. But it was just a one-off kind of plate that someone gave us. On top of that, another platform. And look, the contrast that's being created. And I can see the platform because of the green. I can see the green because of the plum colored. And then on top of that, I collect these amazing Italian woven ceramics. It looks like woven rope or woven, you know, fabric sometimes, or just it's woven. It's lovely. It looks very tropical to me. And in it, I have a faux plant that I've been using for years, and it looks great. It's always fantastic to use. And I'm just trying to get this squared up on here. I'm sorry if I'm disappearing. But now, again, contrast, there you go. Now it's on there correctly. The contrast of the darkness of the rim of the pot, along with, you know, alongside the lightness of this woven. Each brings the other out, right? Everything elevates the next thing contrasting to it. So that's level 2 on that one. Okay, so now another lovely piece that if you watched my haul video, you'll know that this came from. It's King Edward VIII. And what I want you to know is that in my stylings, my vignettes for fall, I have a lot of busts that are part of them. So that's another recurring theme throughout the fall vignettes, are busts and, you know, well, yeah, busts. So that's what they are. Now, notice that I'm not like facing him out or facing him towards the couch. I want you to be aware that busts can face any way you want him to face. I face him in a way that I think serves the piece best. And when you're sitting on the couch, you see his profile, which is amazing. When you're sitting over here, you see the front of him. When you're sitting in the chairs over there, it's a little too far. So you're seeing the back of his head, but you're a little too far to really appreciate it. So it's kind of like whoever's sitting here, this is what they're getting to see. And so I try to give the focus of this bust to these folks here because they're the ones who really get to see it, okay? And as you notice, I'm putting him dark on dark. So there is not a contrast there, but I didn't want that to be. I want it to kind of feel like it's almost one piece in its entirety with this amazing little brass jaguar just sitting here off to the side, okay? Now, the final filler pieces, okay? And with that, as I put the filler pieces in, I want you to know, this whole thing, of course I pre-worked out, right? But it took me hours to come up with the compositions because I've got a lot of amazing things, and I had to really think about how I wanted to put things on these coffee tables because they're going to be on for 6 months, and I want them to look great and feel balanced and bring something of note to the space. So I'm putting together pretty quickly now, but like I said, it took me actually a good couple days to figure out the vignettes just for these 2 coffee tables because I wanted to make sure that it was different from what I had, and if you want to see what I had, you got to click on my other video so you can watch the walkthrough. But I just wanted it to be, you know, on par with what else is happening in the room in terms of the design, which I think is pretty stellar. So let me get the filler pieces and we'll be done with this coffee table. So for section number 1, I've got here, now this is where I'm going to have to adjust because I'm going to move this up a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to move it quite a bit more. So now we've got a diagonal. Because I'd forgotten, believe it or not, that I was going to put these coasters here. And to make sense for the coasters, I'm not going to put the coasters out there where it's out of reach of 90% of the people who are going to be needing them on this couch and these, you know, these chairs here. So I'm putting it closer to the couch. And then I've got a nice little candle that I'm going to put here. Okay? So section 1 has been created, right? Section 2. And again, I'm going to adjust because when I work this out, I have to stand above it and look at it all and make sure that everything feels balanced to me, okay? So I will be adjusting afterwards, but let me get the filler for section 2. Okay, so I'm hoping that you're kind of seeing what's going on now. I'm going to move this over just a little bit. I'll move it back in a second once you see these. So the theme here is a lot darker. There's, you know, the dark marble. I've got a marble box here that has some remotes in it for my fan and such. And then I've got a little burl wood or veneered box here that will have my husband's eyeglasses on it so that he always has a pair that he can use in the living room. But this coffee table has a lot more of the deeper, richer tones, the darker tones that, you know, more people associate with the fall and the winter. But it still falls within the realm, like I said, of the color palette that I have in my home, in the modern British colonial styling that I have in my decor. And again, like I said, I think it works with the environment in which we live. So this here is going to go here because I want to be able to access the box. Again, I'm not going to put it where it's not accessible. So in the planning, I thought of these things because it's important. You just don't stick things willy-nilly because it's not functional if you do that, all right? So again, now I'm going to stand on top and take a look to see that things are lining up the way I want them to because I don't want everything to be on the same plane. So it's minute little movements, right? And take the time. I find it cathartic. A lot of people might not, but I think that's it for this section. Now I'm going to finish up with the 3rd one and we'll be done. Alrighty, final piece. Again, from a haul that I did a while back. It's a transfer piece. Gainsborough is the design name. It's a spode piece. Made in Great Britain. Lovely, and look at the colors. The greens, the darker pinks. Even there's some yellows in there and whites and blues and greens. So it all relates to everything that I have here. And this puppy is going over here. Now, why did I do that? I also think about not only contrast, but I think of masculine and feminine too. Okay folks, so my camera decided to cut out again, so I had to let it charge up one last time. And basically while that was charging, I did a little finagling. I did a little bit more adjusting and fine-tuning here. And just to finish my thought from the last little bit there that I was talking to you about, masculine and feminine, I try to balance that out in all of my vignettes, in all of my spaces, because it's very important to me to have a good yin and yang value in all the rooms and all the things, no matter how big or how small of a project I'm working on. I like that balance to be there because to me that ultimately creates an aesthetically pleasing and interesting, you know, room to be in, vignette to look at, etc., etc. And I hope you enjoyed what I shared with you today. Again, next week's video is going to be 2 more rooms that have some surfaces that I need to change the vignettes out for, and that'll be it. Then I will hopefully be able to do a walkthrough of my whole house so that you can kind of see everything in its entirety, and see how all the things relate, all the rooms relate to one another in my fall winter scheme, and maybe watch my initial reveal video so that you can see what the spring winter looks were like in the house. Okay, so that is it for now. Again, I'm going to get behind the camera, I'm going to do a pan of the room and walk around these vignettes so you get a better sense of how it looks like from the tops and the sides and all the angles, because you know, when you're working on a vignette, you want to make sure that however you look at it, from whatever angle you're looking at, it all looks good. So, like I said, it's not a 20-minute kind of deal. This will take you some time if you want to do it right. There will be a lot of finagling, a lot of finessing, but it's all worth it in the end because you get something that makes you happy. So, let me get behind the camera before this thing runs out again and do a quick walkthrough. Alrighty. And as always, if you enjoy the content, my videos, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, please let me know. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, tell your friends and family, watch a couple more videos. You know, leave me a comment and let me know what you want to see more of or what you're liking, what you're not liking, so that I can kind of tailor make these things to make you happy. So that's it for now, and until next week, have a good one. If you haven't seen our previous videos, click on the links and watch away. Please share, like, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel. We'll do our best to keep you entertained and coming back for more. Bye for now.